Elizabeth, if my wife was not in a car wreck, I was the one in the car wreck, but she was the one taking care of me, is she then entitled to a little bit of compensation?
Well, so sometimes you can bring a loss of consortium claim for somebody's, if the client is very injured and that affects their spouse, and affects their relationship, then sometimes there's a separate cause of action that we can bring. You cannot do it in every case where the spouse is injured. It's got to be a significant injury that affects a marriage and their relationship. So it's sort of a case-by-case type evaluation, but it's certainly something to look into, especially when there's a serious injury.
And Brent, how often are assets taken in a personal injury type of action?
Well, I think I've been a lawyer for 35 years, and I don't believe I've ever taken anybody's assets. If there is not insurance to cover the case, most likely people are not going to go after that kind of money. If somebody very wealthy injures somebody seriously, then there's assets to go after, and that makes a whole different thing. That is why if you have assets, you need to get into your insurance agent and go over what you need to protect yourself. Because if you have the proper insurance in place, your assets will be safe. If you go to an attorney that does estate handling or real estate, they can set up your businesses and everything in a manner to protect you as well as they can. And then the insurance coverage on top of that will even more protect you. The biggest problem I see in the car wreck, what we do, and the part that breaks my heart is, more than not, you have a terrible, terrible injury. A man that can't work, that supported his family, a woman that worked and supported her family, they get hit with somebody with minimum limits. They weren't told to get underinsured coverage, and they're getting $25,000 in South Carolina and $30,000 in North Carolina. And it doesn't matter if they have $100,000 in medical bills. They're done. They're hit by somebody that doesn't have assets. You can get a judgment for $1 million all day long, and you're never going to collect it. And all you've done is stick these people through tons of litigation.
Now, I know this is a really broad question to ask, but Elizabeth, I'll ask it anyways. At the end of the day, what is a fair settlement?
It depends on every
Right.
case, right? It depends on your injuries, your medical bills. If it's a personal injury case, is this going to affect your ability to work going forward? It's a case-by-case evaluation. I'd say the biggest factor is almost always what your medical bills are, what kind of treatment you need. Are you going to need, more medical treatment going forward? So it really all comes down to a case-by-case evaluation. What are your injuries, and what's your prognosis going forward?
Brent, Elizabeth, thanks. Look, at the end of the day, it's about having the right people in your corner to fight for the right results.
This segment of QC Life was sponsored by Stewart Law Offices.